Brown.
It's a lot that we're gonna go through, and if you haven't caught up to the videos, bro, take a quick look into the library and see what the hell we've been talking about up to this point. For starters, hit that subscribe button for me. Hit that like button, bro. Again, the algorithm is whooping my, I don't know why, but it's whooping. So I just need your help to continue to try to push this message. But anyways, today what I wanted to talk to you about is be mindful of the voice of God that you hear in your brain, bro. And now I want you to understand that the voice of God is something that's very real. You're going to have the voice of God come on to you if you're a God-fearing human being. If you understand that there is a creator that has made you, that is in every living thing that you ever come across, it's kind of very simple. And if you just look outside, almost, you'll realize that, okay, there is a force that is here among us that connects us all, right? At the base, at the bare minimum, I don't care what religion you are, whatever, if you're breathing, bro, something put life into you. There's a reason why your heart continues to beat without you having to think about it. You are not in control to some degree. Okay, we understand that. Now, there's another version. There's like a next step to that, right? We all wonder, what is our purpose on this life? What is our destiny? What do we need to do? What do we need to complete? Right? And sometimes we look outside of ourselves to try to find that, which is perfectly good and fine. Meditate, figure out how to get into that contact with that one source. I don't care what religion you are. You have to understand that if you don't get in contact with the creator to understand why you're here and what you need to do and the directions you need to be pulled in and pushed through, you're not going to have a good understanding of life. Right? And then the false voices of God are going to then push you, right? So what do I mean when I say the false voices of God? False voices of God are simply the voices in your brain that you have adopted, heard from other people, picked up from social media, heard from the stranger down the street, heard from the traumatized person that you were a few years ago, that continue to nag and tell you what direction to be pulled into. You have to really understand that. The voice of God is very recognizable, but you can be clouded and falsely led if you allow it to, if you allow yourself to be, right? So when you understand that, when you start to get into a place where you have some sort of momentum or understanding of yourself, not momentum in the world, but a momentum in the self-identity that you're building for yourself. Understand that you are you, and you have to build yourself up to be who you want to be. Right? This is not where you follow other people, follow idols or things like that. Yes, you may aspire to be in that same category of style person they are, but they are not completely and solely you. No, so you have to build up your own identity. However, the voice of God is going to always lead you in the right direction, right? It may not be what you want. It may not be in the direction that you may have thought, right? But you have to be clear and understand that once you start to hear it and understand it, and you've made decisions based off of the previous whispers or voices that has come to you through the forces externally from you, that is God, and has brought you to a favorable place, always lean and remember that voice. And when it comes to you, listen. But when you get into the space where you know you should go that way, but maybe your brother, your mother, your teacher, your auntie, your uncle, your grandmother, your guardian, your job, your boss, your friends start to fuel you with thoughts and identities that are not true to who you are, and you get emotional because whatever attachment or connection you have with that said being or that said relationship pulls you in a certain way, you will make wrong decisions. And those wrong decisions will pull you into a life that you don't necessarily want to be in. So understand that you have to almost create this voice, this inner identity, this own understanding of who you are and who you want to be on this plane as you live it. This is not for you to bow down, listen to others, and be this human that you're not. It's just true. You have to understand where you want to be and what you want to do. And that's why I harp on making sure you have a vision board, making sure that you understand that you have to find your inner voice. You must kill the child that was obedient to the parent. Right? Once you get into a certain space as a man, you have to kill that inner voice. That is that traumatized, broken child that's always going to follow what mommy and daddy does. And a lot of people don't get onto this bandwagon or this understanding frequency, this frequency of understanding, because they're still broken. Right? Traditions and norms and practices that may be held in certain cultures as the norm doesn't have to be your norm. I remember somebody wrote on a video that I did a couple weeks ago, and he said, he's like, that's what's wrong with the world, that you don't follow or obey what your parents are telling you. If you're obeying what your parents told you at 27 years old, 28 years old, 29, 30, and on, and even if you're mature at like 24, 25, you got to start really understanding who you want to be in this world. Because quickly what's going to happen is that you're going to bow down to what your parents think of you. We've talked about this before. Perception and understanding of how people see you plays a big role in the decisions that you make if you allow that to be your basis. So if you want a good mental picture for your parents to think about in their brains, you're going to then follow what they say, right? Or have a higher obedience level to what they say, because your actions are dependent on an image that is in their brain. You got to cut that out of your life immediately. Now, that might not be your custom and practice. That might not be what part of the world you come from. It's almost like haram to do that. But you got to understand that you have to become you. You got to take control of your life. You got to be responsible for the things that you need to do and execute on. This is not a thing where mommy and daddy need to cuck you and hold your hand throughout life. Right? And this is where people become miserable and figure out at 50, 60 that they've lived a life that they didn't want to live. Because you've clung on to the understanding of what your parents thought of you, and you've tried to be obedient to that. Instead of creating your own understanding of your life, creating your own identity, taking out the blank canvas, killing all of the false voices of God that beam in the back of your brain and in your subconscious, right? And create a new life. And so when I say the voices of God, this is what I mean. Do not allow the things or the people in your life that have strong connections to you, whether it be emotionally or whatever roots you, because whatever you're going after, whatever is that dominant or the superior thing that you're going after is going to be that falsehood of voice of God in the back of your brain, right? And now sometimes it's not that you won't have an unfavorable outcome. Sometimes you'll have a favorable outcome, but you should have done something different in the way that you executed. Right? So think about it. Whatever you hold at the highest priority, like I said a second ago, is your God. So if money is what you're looking for, you aspire to have all the money in the world, that is your voice in the back of your head. That is the voice of God for you. Everything that gives you the ability to get money is where you will then primarily put all of your decision making to make sure you get all the money. If in your brain, pleasing my parents is the number one thing, that is that voice of God in your brain telling you this is what you need to do to please that higher, superior image or thought in your brain that is pleasing your parents. Right? If being an entrepreneur means being 100% selfish with your time and your energy, you will do everything in your mind, in your brain, in your capacity to make sure that you execute on being a top tier entrepreneur, right? Which will be then the voice of God in your head that is telling you to do that. It's simple. That doesn't mean that the voice of God is wrong in your brain that you've created, but it does mean that every part of your decision-making process will be geared towards making sure you get that superior outcome that you have at the base, on the forefront of your brain, right? And what I need you to understand is that if the forefront of your brain is not something that you want to be or aspire to have, you need to kill it. If you do not want to be like your parents, stop. Generational curses continue to get handed down because you think that the voice of God that you're hearing in the back of your brain is your traumatized fucking childhood that your parents have then made you go through, and then they can now easily manipulate you without them even... there's something called indirect manipulation, right? So I'm not directly manipulating and telling you that this is what I want you to do and you need to do this or this. No, this is me suggesting you do this, understanding that I have full control over you because you are still that broken child inside. This is why a lot of people are broken and end up doing the dumb shit that their parents did, because they don't know how to break the cycle. You have to heal yourself, bro. You have to figure out that inner identity. You got to pull from your inner core to say, this is who I am and I'm about to die on the stake for it. I don't give a fuck what you got to say. Mom, dad, cousin, auntie, brother, uncle, job, boss, fuck you. You're not Mr. Brown. And whoever the fuck you are, you're not them, right? So you don't need to operate like them. You need to operate like who you want to be. This thing where you're being manipulated. Slowly but surely, your life will unravel into something that you don't want it to be. And the quicker that you nip it in the bud is the quicker that you start to live a life that you're worth claiming, that you find worth claiming, that you find it can be acknowledged in the presence of you. The one that you feel proud of and accomplished when it's time for you to kick the dirt in RIP, ultimately, right? We only have one life. Understand that. You're going to die. So why the fuck would you bow down early, live your life for someone else, or do the things that they wish they could do, and then end up with the consequences of it? That is the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. And I promise you, some of these things that I speak to you are almost me speaking to myself and reiterating these things in my brain. Because it's easy to say, it's harder to do it. Right? I'm not saying I haven't made those mistakes myself. Bro, I've made fuck ton of mistakes that I wish I could redo and get the fuck and get that shit out of my life. I wish. I fucking wish. But listen, it's too late. Right? So you have to understand that you have to adjust and make the certain adjustments with the consequences of you not making the initial decision that you wanted, right? And then still creating your identity and then living a life worth claiming. Right now, however you connect to that one source that leads you into the life that you want to live, you have to understand and identify that voice for yourself, and then take all of the false voices and push them out, right? Push them to the wayside. Figure out what your core meaning of life is. What does life look like for you at its peak? What do you want out of this life? What do you want to do with your life? That's only a question that you can answer. No one else can answer that. Not your mom, not your dad. Right? And when you get into this space where it's like, fuck, my parents raised me, so I must be obedient to them when I'm 30? When I'm 25? When I'm 20? Fuck. If you're mature enough at 20 years old, you start to recognize these things. Right? And I want you to even think about a time where your parents may have told you, yo, Johnny, don't do this. Don't do that. Don't do that. But listen, here's the interesting thing that I've figured out. Your parents are living at the age in which they gained wisdom through the experiences that they're telling you not to live. Right? So how does that make sense? Right? It's good to tell, and listen, harmful, death, like fatal shit, listen to. Like when they say, yo, look both ways before you cross the street, that's a no-brainer. Look both ways, because if I don't, that's fatal. But if you live in this fucking bubble your whole life where your parents say, don't do this, don't do that, don't try this, don't go here, you are missing the very experiences that will cultivate the identity that you're looking to cultivate. The same identity I'm telling you to build, you're not going to be able to build it if you don't have the experiences. You'll always be in a lack state. And you never want to be in a lack state. You should always try things at least once that are not fatal or that will destroy your brain or be catastrophic to the progression of your identity, right? So when you go to college, right, your parents will always, or some parents, not all parents, some parents will tell you like, yo, you shouldn't have a drink at all. You shouldn't drink at all. You shouldn't try any drugs. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. What they're doing is creating a bubble because of their prior experiences that have showed them ways that they know and understand can be detrimental to someone's life. And of course, it's from an intentional place of love towards you, but what it does is deprive you of an experience that will help you cultivate and understand life at a deeper level. You can't live through life reading books and then doing everything someone else's vision does. Sometimes you need to go through the hardship. Sometimes you need to experience the hard thing. Sometimes you need to jump off the bridge because it feels good. Doing a cliff dive, doing a whatever. But because your parents are too scared or the limitations that they put on their life, you follow because you're broken and you feel like your parents is the voice of God that you should always follow. Right? And not to say that, oh, you shouldn't listen to your parents. No, take it, but understand that what you're doing is you're taking what their limitation is on their life and you're putting it on your life. And you never want to do that. right? If you're called to be greater, if you are called to be a forefront father in your family, to change and bring your family name to the top, maybe take your family out of generational curses, you're gonna have to do things that your family has never done and never can give you experience on. And by them telling you don't try or do certain things, it stops you and limits you from experiencing something that can take your brain to the next level. It's just true. Your parents may say, yo, don't jump out of a plane because it's scary. Scary for who? For you? Is it scary for you? Or is it scary for them? Scary for them. Oh, don't try sushi. There's parasites. So you don't book that flight to Japan and try the most authentic sushi you've ever had in your life and create an amazing experience that may open doors for you to be something bigger and better on the other side of the planet. Because of a fear. Just true. And when you start to really break down and understand yourself as a human being, as an adult that is just a big child, you start to uncover the things that you've gone through in life and see, oh shit, I've been told this from I was a child, therefore it must be true. And those things then become your practices and customs, and then you hand that down to your children because it was true when you were a kid, so it must be true for them. And then now you've passed on a generational curse without even understanding where it came from. Think about it. The barriers and the boxes that these false voices of God will lead you down will deprive you of a life that's worth living. Be real. Be cognitive of what's going on around you and who's talking to you and who's bringing you life. Are they leading you down the direction that you want to go or not? And I want you to really take this before this video ends. I want you to understand this. When you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else, right? And I've made such big mistakes that I have now built into my own identity that you have to accept, because there are going to be mistakes that you make that you're going to have to accept because they're already done. And we'll make another video on this later. But once you make a decision, it's done. It's cemented. This is what you're doing. This is who you are now. This is what you have to cling on to because you made that decision, right? So I want you to understand there's always going to be a sacrifice. If you say yes to one decision, you're saying no to something else. So for you to understand who you are and where you want to be, you need to make that clear to yourself first. You need to really believe in what you're trying to do. If you want to be an entrepreneur, understand that it's going to be hard. But if that's the route that you know you need to do, and there is something calling you to go down that path, go down that path. And do not be a fucking doctor, because the sacrifice is your fucking entrepreneurship lifestyle, or that entrepreneurship road that you know you should be going down. The sacrifice. Yo, this shit kills me. The sacrifice, bro. Understand that. The one thing that will fuck you up is the sacrifice. What are you sacrificing? To be and do something that you don't want to do and be. Are you sacrificing a life that you want to live? You probably are. And before you make that fucked up mistake that'll kill you, it'll be the detriment of your life, bro. I swear to you, if you live a life being a doctor the entire time, knowing that you want to be an entrepreneur, and you do nothing in this entrepreneurship space, you will die in regret and resent human beings that you don't need to, because all you need to do is understand that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I want to do this. I want to be down that path. But I need to say no and sacrifice the image that is in people's head of me being a fucking doctor. You die alone. You go in a box alone. You do not resurface. You do not restart. You do not respawn. You do not come back and live this life again in the exact same way that you've lived it thus far. You will not have this experience again. Why make decisions for an image that will just be in a person who is dying and not living their own favorite life, right? Who has done the same fatal mistake of living a life that their parents will accept, but not them. Do not sacrifice. Give no sacrifice. Burn every fucking boat. You know when they say like, yo, they burn the boats because the only way was forward? You must burn every blood clot boat. Every image, every inclinage, every inkling, every fucking thing that may be in your blood clot brain of someone else and the thoughts that they have of you, burn. That is the sacrifice. Fuck them. Go live the life that you desire to be. Go live and be that human. Go be that man. You want to be a fucking family man? You want children? You want a picket fence? You want a dog? You want that high-tech job? You want whatever? You want to be an entrepreneur? You want to be a pilot? You want to be a doctor, a lawyer? You want to be a fucking person who can make clothes? You want to be an artist? You want to be a content creator? Right? You want to be a fucking novelty naturalist or fucking reserve guardian. You want to fucking be an oil miner. You want to go fucking deep sea fishing to be your life. You want to live your fucking life to the fullest so you can be proud and understand that is who I am. When you show up, you can say, this is who I am. When I walk into a room, this is who I am. I will speak passionately. I am a fucking entrepreneur. I will do anything it takes to be number one. Understand that. Become it. Live it. Breathe it. Bleed it. Do it because you have no other choice. You have no option. You have no choice. Sacrifice everything. Remove everything. Do not bow down for nobody. Zero. Burn the boats. Burn the image. Burn the pride. Burn the thoughts of parents. Burn every fucking thing you need to burn to become and accept the identity that you truly want to be. Follow the voice of God as it will push you into the right direction, and be 100% clear on the vision and the road that you're going down, so that when you're done and the road is over and you have to lock your eyes and take your last breath, you can say, fuck, that was a great life.
Boy, Mr. Brown.